Ever see one of those old movies where, the little guy gets pushed around and you just wish anyone would step in and do the right thing?
Oh, absolutely. It's a classic setup.
Well, picture this. A really bustling Chinatown market. The smells of ginger and soy sauce hanging in the air, the happy chatter of shoppers, and then suddenly, bam!
A bully shows up.
Right, demanding money, making threats.
Exactly. And what happens next? Well, it's a story of everyday courage. The kind that reminds you that even the quietest folks, they can stand up to injustice. Today, we're diving into just such a moment.
And it's compelling right from the start, isn't it? Because it feels so timeless. We've all seen or heard about situations where power gets misused to intimidate, to exploit. And this story, set in this vibrant market, it gives us a real close-up look at that dynamic and the human response it can spark.
Yeah, exactly. So we're introduced to this character, Master Kale. He runs a dojo, apparently, but he's acting more like a neighborhood tough guy.
A thug, basically. Pretty much. He confronts May. She's a shopkeeper, just working hard at her stall. And he's not just asking for protection money, but when she kind of hesitates, he makes his point. Smashes up her stall.
Yeah, that's a clear message. Not subtle.
Not at all. And you can just feel May's mix of defiance and, fear. She's not totally backing down, but you can tell she's scared.
Understandably.
And the other vendors, the shoppers, they're all just keeping their heads down, whispering. That happy market buzz, it suddenly has this real edge of fear running through it.
That damage to the stall, it's such a powerful visual, isn't it? It's not just about, the cost of repairs or lost income.
No.
It's a violation. A personal attack designed to scare everyone, the whole community. And the fact that everyone else goes quiet, that just shows how well Kale's intimidation works.
It really does. It shows how easily that climate of fear can just take hold. Then, almost like out of nowhere, arrives let's call him our observer. But an observer with a particular set of skills, maybe.
Right, the Jason Statham character.
Yeah, the narrative describes him as this unstoppable hero who just happens to witness this cruelty. And it says his steely gaze locks right onto Kale.
Okay.
But the thing that really seems to get to him, the thing that makes it personal, is seeing May's torn shop ledger on the ground. The source says it ignites a fire in his soul.
Ah, the ledger. That's interesting.
Why do you say that?
Well, it moves it beyond just like an emotional gut reaction to the violence.
Yeah.
Focusing on the ledger suggests this isn't just a one-off bullying incident.
Right, it's bigger.
It's about her livelihood, her financial stability, maybe a whole pattern of exploitation. It hints he's thinking, not just reacting.
That makes sense. And the scene is painted so vividly. You've got the red lanterns swaying, the steam rising from the food stalls, all the sounds of the market.
But underneath it all.
Yeah, underneath it all, you can feel that tension. And Statham's presence, they describe it as a quiet storm, which really makes you lean in wondering, okay, what's he going to do? Now, before we delve deeper into this clash, this whole situation, if you're finding yourself hooked by stories like this, everyday heroes standing up against injustice, maybe give this a like.
Yeah, and subscribe for more deep dives like this one.
And let us know in the comments if you were in Statham's shoes right then, seeing that happen, what would your first move be? Just leave a 1 in the comments if you're hooked and want to hear the rest. And maybe a 2 if this kind of story isn't really your cup of tea. We appreciate the feedback either way.
Absolutely. Okay, so back to that market atmosphere. All those details, the lanterns, the steam, the noise, they're not just background color, are they?
No, not at all. They serve a real purpose. You have all this life, this energy, these symbols of, community and prosperity, like the red lanterns.
And then you contrast that sharply with the fear simmering just below the surface.
Exactly. It really emphasizes what's at stake. It's not just one shopkeeper stall. It's the whole feeling of the place, the community's well-being, that tense undercurrent, the fearful hush. It hits harder because the market should feel alive and safe.
Well put. And into this uneasy scene walks Statham. The description says he's navigating it with gritty resolve, his clenched fists, and this is interesting, his Wing Chun frame alert.
Wing Chun, right. For folks who don't know martial arts, that's known for being really efficient, especially in close quarters, right?
That's the one. So even without him doing anything flashy yet, That description tells you he's ready, he's capable, he's noticing Cale's enforcers nearby, feeling that unease.
It's like he's absorbing the market's fear, but instead of making him shrink back, it's turning into this quiet, focused determination.
And that immediate awareness, how he's sizing up the situation, the potential threats, it sets him apart from the other people there who are mostly just trying to stay out of it.
Right, they're scared for themselves.
Understandably. And mentioning the Wing Chun, even subtly, it just adds this layer of anticipation. You sense he has a plan, or at least the ability to handle things effectively.
Meanwhile, we get a closer look at May. She's there at her battered stall, clutching that torn shop ledger, and her hands are trembling. The source mentions her weary smile masking fear. That just says so much, doesn't it? Trying to keep up appearances, be brave, but she's terrified underneath.
It really does. And her daughter, Lily, she's nearby selling dumplings, but her usual upbeat voice is faltering with anxiety.
Oh, the daughter's there too.
Yeah. It really paints a picture of a family under immense stress. It adds another layer, doesn't it? It's not just May, it's her child seeing this, feeling this too.
Definitely raises the emotional stakes, and those ripped pages of the ledger, they're not just, litter on the ground.
No, they symbolize her financial ruin, as the source puts it, a physical representation of Cale's extortion.
And it kind of foreshadows Statham's path, right? This isn't just about stopping the immediate threat, it's about digging into this pattern of abuse.
Exactly. The narrative even makes a point of contrasting the market with a gym or fight club. This isn't a fair fight.
No, it's predation. And Cale's dojo isn't presented as some honorable training place, but a gritty fortress with cracked walls, more like a base of operations.
Right. His power comes from fear, not respect or legitimate skill. The dojo is just where he runs his racket from.
Okay, so the scene is definitely set, the tension's high. What actually kicks off the confrontation?
Well, Cale makes his move. He taunts May something like, "Fork over the cash," or "Your stall's ash."
Charming.
Delivered with a sneer, naturally, making sure everyone sees his kung fu prowess as a threat.
But May, even scared, she stands her ground.
She does. And Lily, the daughter, she pikes up, "Leave her alone." Just like that.
Wow, that's brave. A small act, but huge in that context.
It is. May's defiance may be born of desperation. It's the first little crack in Cale's control. And Lily jumping in just makes you root for them even more.
And then Statham steps in. Not with a big shout, but quietly. A low growl, the source says.
What does he say?
"Back off, Cale, or you'll regret it."
Good.
Simple, direct, and the whole market atmosphere just snaps. Goes from tense quiet to electric.
You can feel the shift. His quiet confidence, it immediately makes him seem like a real challenge to Cale, unlike anyone else there.
It's like everyone holds their breath. A flicker of hope, maybe?
Definitely. That collective unspoken hope that maybe, just maybe, someone's finally going to stand up to this guy.
But Cale, he doesn't just back down, right? He tries to play it cool.
Oh, yeah. He throws back this mocking line, calls Statham a faded stuntman. A real dig.
Ouch. And the crowd, how do they react?
Not great for Statham. Initially, the source is vendors snickering, shoppers jeering, pointing, whispering. It's described as a humiliating wave.
So they buy into Cale's put-down. They don't see Statham as a threat.
Apparently not. They see the bully, Cale, and maybe think Statham's past his prime, all talk. It highlights their fear, too. They're siding with who they think has the power.
That's tough. Public humiliation.
But here's where Statham shows his focus. He doesn't bite. Doesn't get into a shouting match.
What does he do?
He stays silent, just brushes May's ledger lightly. The source calls it a silent promise of deeper evidence, hinting that the ledger itself is like a map to Cale's crimes.
Interesting. So even while being mocked, his mind is already on the bigger picture, the proof.
Exactly. It shows that strategic thinking again. He knows a fist fight right then might not solve the real problem. He needs evidence to truly take Cale down.
And then Lily pleads with him.
Yeah, just a quiet please. Her voice is described as a faint echo of hope. It's really poignant. Hits you right there.
Oh, man. And Cale doubles down.
He does. Threatens Statham directly. "Stay out or you're next."
Yeah.
And the crowd, hearing that, they seem convinced Statham is really done for. The tension just ratchets up again.
So it looks like Statham's cornered, maybe. Humiliated, threatened.
That's how it ends, that first confrontation. On a real cliffhanger. Statham's jaw is tight. He's staring Cale down. The crowd gasps.
And the enforcer steps up.
Yep. Cracking his knuckles. A clear, nonverbal, "You're next." The whole market just feels like it's holding its breath. So what does Statham do? Does he finally fight?
Well, this is where it gets interesting. Instead of just lashing out, he shows that shark eye again. He actually kneels down by May's destroyed stall.
Okay, looking for what?
He finds something crucial, a crumpled receipt that fell out of the ledger.
The ledger again?
Exactly. And the description really emphasizes it. Yellowed paper smudged with May's tears, and on it, a list of weekly payments to Master Kale.
Wow, hard proof. Right there. Damning proof of his extortion racket, the source calls it. That's the key.
So not just May's word against his anymore, actual documentation.
Right. And Statham sees it and realizes this is Kale's chokehold on her life. It clicks. This isn't just random bullying. It's systematic, part of a broader crime web.
And that solidifies his decision to go further, to raid the dojo. Yep.
It shifts from just protecting May in that moment to uncovering the whole rotten system. It's about justice now, not just intervention.
That discovery, that receipt, it's a real turning point. It changes the game from just intimidation to exposing a criminal operation.
And you see the reactions around him change too. Lily asks, her voice full of worry, he's destroying us all, isn't he? You feel that vulnerability.
And May is still frozen, clutching the ledger, probably terrified of what happens next.
But the crowd, the source mentions their unease starts to shift. There's a hint of rebellion bubbling up. They saw Statham stand up to Kale, and now maybe they sense there's real proof.
That receipt becomes a catalyst, doesn't it? It shifts the mood from just passive fear towards, well, maybe a hesitant hope, like a tiny spark.
Yeah, that crumpled receipt smudged with tears, it becomes symbolic. Kale's noose, the source calls it. That's what pushes Statham towards the dojo raid.
And the crowd's reaction changes from mocking Statham earlier
to a tense hush. They're not jeering now, they're watching, waiting. They sense something big is about to happen. The power dynamic is definitely shifting. They realize Kale might actually be vulnerable.
Okay, so Statham has the receipt, but he knows he needs more, right? He doesn't stop there. He goes digging inside Kale's dojo.
And what does he find there? The source mentions the atmosphere, just a lantern swaying. The market sounds distant.
He finds more evidence. First, a blood-stained note.
A blood-stain?
Yeah, hidden in a crate that maybe belonged to another vendor. And the note says, in Kale's handwriting apparently, pay or suffer.
Whoa, that's pretty visceral. Direct confirmation of his methods. Brutal.
Tells you exactly how he operates. But is that all he finds?
No, there's more. He finds another ledger page. Looks like it's from May's stall again, but this one has names. Names of other victims.
Other shopkeepers.
Exactly. Shopkeepers being bled dry by Kale's greed. It shows this isn't just about May. It's widespread. A whole network of victims.
So it confirms the broader crime web idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the narrative adds another layer. Statham apparently overhears a vendor's whispered testimony, someone repeating that same phrase, pay or suffer.
It's like all the pieces are just falling into place for him. Click, click, click. A clear picture of this whole extortion racket.
These discoveries just solidify everything. It's systemic exploitation, backed by threats and violence. And the whispered testimony just underscores why nobody spoke up before. Too scared.
And Statham's reaction to finding all this, how does he take it?
He's firm. He declares, maybe just to himself at this point, Kale's not just extorting May, he's bleeding this market dry.
That's a powerful realization. It's not just personal anymore. It's about the entire community.
Right. It strengthens his resolve. The raid isn't just justified. It feels necessary now. He understands the full scope of what Kale's doing.
And back in the market, even though people don't know the details of what Statham found, they sense something's up, right?
Oh, yeah. The reaction is significant. Vendors are packing up their stalls quickly. Shoppers are murmuring nervously. Some places are closing down. The fear is actually escalating in a way.
Because they know a confrontation is coming.
Probably. But there's also a shift. Lily, May's daughter, her voice is described as having more confidence now. She asks, we can't let him ruin us, can we?
Wow, she's drawing strength from this.
It seems like it. Like Statham's actions are giving her and maybe others a bit of courage. And May, still holding that ledger, she seems less frozen now, more resolute.
So hope mixed with apprehension. They see someone fighting back, and it's empowering, even if it's dangerous. A shift from just being victims to maybe wanting to resist.
Precisely. Okay, so the stage is set, the big showdown. Statham storms the dojo. What happens when he finally confronts Kale?
He finds Kale in his office, and even then, he finds one last piece of evidence. A hidden ledger entry.
Hidden. What does it show?
It's scratched in Kale's jagged script, and it details enforcer payments. Proof that this was an organized operation, paying muscle.
The final nail in the coffin, evidence-wise.
Pretty much. So with all this proof, Statham confronts him directly. Your scam's finished, Kale. Just like that.
And does Kale try to fight? Or his enforcer?
The enforcer steps up, but Statham deals with him immediately. A swift wing chun block and a palm strike. Done. Quick, efficient, shows his skill.
Undermines Kale's authority right away. Shows everyone Kale isn't untouchable.
And Kale himself. What's his reaction to being confronted with the evidence and seeing his muscle taken down?
He completely falls apart. Starts stammering, eyes darting around. His whole tough guy act just crumbles. His empire crumbled like ash, as the source puts it.
So the big bad bully is just scared.
Exactly. Exposed. His power was all smoke and mirrors based on fear. When faced with real opposition and proof, he collapses.
Then there's this great moment. Statham turns, maybe to the people who've gathered, and holds up the ledger.
The ledger again. What does he say?
He says, this isn't just May's fight, it's for every shopkeeper. Calls the ledger a beacon of justice, really bringing it home that this is about the whole community.
That's powerful. It shifts it from a personal vendetta to a collective victory. The ledger becomes the symbol of their struggle, and now maybe their hope.
And the community doesn't just watch.
No.
Yeah.
This is the best part. Inspired by Statham, by the evidence, the vendors and shoppers, they surge into the dojo.
Onto the dojo.
Cheering, shouting this defiant chorus, Kale's done! Justice for May! It's the community rising up together, taking back their space, their power.
That's fantastic. The ultimate victory, really. People finding their voice.
It really is. It shows that power of solidarity. Standing together, they overcome the fear. They reclaim their market.
And we get a little more detail on the fight, Bick. Statham uses a flurry of Wing Chun blocks and strikes on the enforcer. Easy work for him.
While Kale is just feebly denying things.
Yep. Trying to deflect blame. It wasn't just me. His fear, totally obvious. A huge contrast to him mocking Statham earlier. Just shows his cowardice.
It doesn't end quite there, does it? There's a hint of something more.
Right. Even with Kale defeated, Statham gives this warning, looks around the dojo and says something like, someone's still pulling strings.
Ah, so maybe Kale wasn't the top dog.
It suggests that. Hints at a larger network, an unresolved truth. The crowd's cheers kind of falter a bit then, replaced by this underlying concern. The fight might not be completely over.
That adds a touch of realism, doesn't it? Taking down one guy doesn't always dismantle the whole system. There might be more work to do.
Definitely. But despite that uncertainty, the market itself is transformed. It becomes this crucible of hope. People are speaking out now, voicing their defiance.
And the source notes this story is dramatized to honor its fire, keeping the focus on that core theme of justice and courage.
Right. It's about the spirit of the event. And that spirit is definitely changing the community. They faced the bully, saw him fall, and now they feel empowered. They're rebuilding, moving forward together.
You see the individual impact, too. The crowd is cheering for May so loudly it echoes Lily's own amazement.
And May finds this new, steady resolve. She's standing tall alongside Statham's unyielding grit. The market literally seems brighter, filled with hope.
And Statham's reflection is quite humble, isn't it? I'm just a man, but May's fight showed justice never quits.
Yeah. And he gets a thank you note from another vendor, a small thing, but it shows the personal impact his actions had. It keeps the story alive.
That note's a great touch. A reminder that standing up for one person can ripple outwards and affect so many others.
And the final image is the market as a sanctuary of hope. Vendors are rebuilding, shoppers are chanting May's name. May's smiling, that ledger now a symbol of victory. And Lily's joining the chant. It's really quite uplifting.
A powerful transformation. The ledger, once a symbol of fear and oppression, becomes a testament to their resilience. Justice restored, community spirit rekindled.
You know, this deep dive into that Chinatown market, it really did show more than just some extortion racket. It showed the incredible power, the power of just one person's courage, how it can spark a whole community to fight for what's right.
Absolutely. May's defiance, Statham's determination, and then the market finding its voice. It's a potent reminder that even when things seem really bleak, standing up can create this amazing legacy of hope.
It really can. And what's insightful, I think, is how that single act of injustice, Kale pushing May around, it could have just continued. But because someone dared to challenge it.
It galvanized everyone. It highlighted how connected they all were and the potential they had for collective action, even against someone who seemed so powerful.
So as we think about those neon lights shining brighter in that market, casting out the shadows, maybe a final thought for everyone listening, where In your own life or your own community, might there be a situation, maybe a master tale of some kind, where maybe just a small act of courage could spark a similar kind of transformation? Doesn't have to be a big dramatic showdown.
No, often it's the small things. Just speaking up, offering support, refusing to look away,
Right.
reflecting on where we see unfairness, and thinking about what small steps we could take. That's how change often starts.
Well said. So if May's story resonated with you today, if it inspired you to think about standing up for what's right, please do give this a like and maybe share this deep dive.
Let's keep this conversation about courage and community going. And don't forget to subscribe for more insightful explorations.
Definitely. And let us know in the comments what stood out most to you. Was it May's courage? Statham's intervention? The community rising up? Leave a 1 if you found this compelling, or a 2 if it wasn't quite for you. Your feedback helps us. Some fights might end.
But the pursuit of justice, that never really sleeps.